there's a number of people talking about this little guy, right? So you've probably seen these in a lot of your clubs. So they're called a shaft adapter, right? I think it's revolutionized the game in the last number of years, because what it means is that when you're going to set up your club, okay, you might want to set up the face pointing maybe slightly closed. So that's for people who might want to draw it, right? Okay. Consequently, what it means, guys, is that you might have a golf course where you would play as a member, and there could be a lot of holes that maybe where you need the ball, move the ball from say right to left. That's the lot of shape of the holes that you might see in a course. Now, I haven't seen it. Usually it's the other way around. You see a lot of holes that we set up for more, say like a fade, in which case that's a slightly more open face position, which is slightly exaggerated. But if you're playing a golf course where a lot of tee shots require a ball that moves, say, from left to right, that's typically what's known as a fade bias, right? And the beauty of the adapter is that you're able to do that. So in some cases, like a lot of these brands, you can change the loft. But in this case, we're talking about face angles. So whether you're, say, using a square face orientation, whether you're using a slightly open face, or whether you're using a draw biased, you can manipulate the face on the club. The reason you're doing that is because you're trying to accommodate either a particular style of shot, or maybe it's just more around the course conditions that you're playing, okay? Now, the reason why this is important, and it's important to know from a club making standpoint, is that when you go to build a golf club, there's only one point on the shaft. And we talk about this every year. This comes up because we get new players coming on the scene, and guys who probably don't know a whole lot about the game, probably don't know a whole lot about equipment. And even though this little gadget is quite versatile in terms of what you can do to the club, as we've always said, there's still only one point along the shaft. And what I've done, this example here, this is just a shaft from a well-known driver brand. It's a Japanese brand. This club would have cost about maybe €800 or €900 to buy for the person that bought it, right? So what I've done is I've clamped, obviously, the shaft inside in that 5-inch clamp over there, right? So what I'm trying to replicate is, I want you to imagine a situation where there's the ball at address, right, in the middle of the club face, right? In a perfect world, with the shaft being optimum and being installed in the correct fashion, which you would hope they all are, okay? That if I pull that back, then you should see that club head goes back on a reasonable sort of line. So the thing is, look, I've got it within maybe a degree or two what it needs to be, right? With a little bit of fine tuning, I can get it a bit more perfect, right? Okay. But the reason why this is a big deal is, somebody now tells you that, do you know what? I think I want to hit a bit of a fade or a little bit of a draw. I think I'm going to change the settings on the club, right? Most of these adapters that you see, some have maybe 4 adjustments, so you can change it within 90 degrees. There's other ones that are a bit more fine, where they get within about 45 degrees, right? But for argument's sake, if I actually take that and I turn that at about 45 degrees, so you can see I've turned it away from the most optimal point. Let's say I've turned it roughly maybe about 45 degrees there, right? I'm just going to correct the head, because obviously the head is moved now because we moved the shaft, right? But I want you to pay attention to what happens next, right? So when I go to pull this back, pay close attention to what's actually going on with the club head now. So you see how that head is now oscillating really, really wildly, right? You can see it's going around in a circle. A few minutes ago, when we took the time to align the shaft, you can see that the shaft was aligned relatively close to what it needs to be, which means that from a high handicapper perspective, or a beginner, or any golfer of any level, what it means is that you have a better chance of hitting the ball out of the middle. Now, unfortunately, what happens is, because, say, you've changed the setting based on a hunch, or you want to do something with the face angle, look what's actually happened to the club head now. That's now going around in a circle, and the reason is because that shaft, unfortunately, is now gone out of alignment. And what it means is, when you go to hit a drive, you're going to end up with a poor result. So you're either going to hit it off the toe or off the heel. You might hit it high on the face, you might hit it low on the face. But proving once again is that before you change the settings on the club head, it's imperative that you talk to your club maker about what way you want to set your club up. So a lot of these clubs now, hybrids, fairway woods, drivers, they all come with these adapter, which is versatile and makes it easier for you to, change the shape of shot that you want to get from the golf club. But just be really wary. If you don't have the shaft installed correctly from the beginning and set in the way you want it, you're not going to hit it in the most important part, guys, and that's the middle of the club, okay? And pros don't settle for less. Pros want to hit the ball out of the center of the club face, because that's worth at least maybe 50% in your accuracy alone, and in some cases you can gain up to 15% in distance, okay? So it's a really, really big thing. If you're not too sure about it, like I said, you have a driver which is misbehaving, you're seeing a lot of erratic dispersion across the face, chances are the shaft and head are not put together right. So please give us a shout, and we'd only be too happy to talk to you, maybe talk to you about a retrofit, or maybe possibly modifying your driver shaft if it's giving you sort of reasonable numbers to begin with, okay? Thanks very much for watching. Like I said, I hope this makes sense, but like I said, any issues with your consistency off with any of these longer clubs that have adapters in particular, please just contact us straight away, all right? Take care.